It's a really interesting bike to ride, and I say that laughing because I built this bike, then I learnt to ride motorcycles, which is absurd, and I completely understand that, but it's the way I approach it. I don't really do things very normally. I wanted to learn on the bike that I had built. So I could tell you it's fun to ride. I don't know if it's fast. It feels like I'm doing 200 miles an hour every time I ride it. I mountain bike a lot, and it corners like a heavy mountain bike is what it feels like. So I love that aspect of it. Every noise, every rattle, every vibration, I'm pretty convinced the entire bike's about to undo itself. But aside from some shifter pegs and other little bits and bobs coming loose, nothing catastrophic has happened yet. It's been a learning process, but it's definitely a riot to ride. I grin the whole time, and my buddies at work, they all laugh because when I come in, I usually pump the air and say I'm alive again, I made it. I survived riding it, and I think its name is pretty fitting. I called it Wee Beastie, which is very Scottish sounding, and it's basically a wee beastie, sort of a pesky gnat, like something that annoys you, and I think it's a pretty fitting name for this bike. It's buzzes around and goes in and out of things, and it's fun. Hey guys, my name's Neil. This is my 1969 Honda SL350. I'm from Scotland, but we're in Orange County, California, and this is my first motorcycle that I've ever owned, and it's my first build that I've ever done myself as well. It's obviously doesn't look like a Honda SL350 anymore. It's been pretty heavily attacked. And is kind of a mishmash of a number of different period correct bikes. It took me about a year and a half to build, which was about 6 months longer than I ever expected. I think everybody probably enters their first build a little over enthusiastic, and that's probably true for me as well. The bike was a Craigslist find. It hadn't run in 31 years. The bike is last registered in the early 80s. I considered doing a full restoration back to an SL350, but I'm a design engineer for my work, and I had pretty strong opinions on what I wanted the bike to be. Having never owned a motorcycle before, literally all I kind of had was the doodles and images in my head of what a little lightweight bomber kind of looked like, and that's what I wanted to try and make. The cool thing about it being an SL350 is that it's still geared for off-road work, and my work is 2.5 miles from my house. So the short gearing is actually really fun. It doesn't make it a great cruising bike for the freeway, but just going to work I get to run up and down the gears all the time, and it really makes it fun being geared short. Definitely been done before, but I went with the Benelli Mojave tank. It's period correct. It is a good, it's a strong silhouette, but we edited it pretty hard. My buddies and I, we hacked the big flip-top gas cap away and recessed in a Harley-Davidson pop-top gas cap. And these are just kind of the little details that I really nerd out on. Ian Halcott, who used to own twin line motorcycles, did the seat for me after receiving probably about 8 different text message sketches from me, and I ended up mounting it up in a vise here and almost destroying it by mistake, but shaping it to exactly fit the rear tail light that's tucked away underneath it. And that was a really fun process. It was sort of my start of grinding on things. Frame of the 69 SL350 is stamped, and ended up doing quite a lot of work on just with cutting wheels and grinders and every tool that I could put my hand on, completely reshaping by taking off a lot of the stamping work that's there. It's not very pretty, so there's a lot of nice seam welding on the frame that nobody will ever see, but again, being an engineer, I kind of nerded out on that. The SL350 is pretty tall in the front. It was Honda's version of an off-road bike, and obviously that didn't fit with the cafe thing. So most of the front end now is, again, period correct, but it's from a CB350, a bike that a guy was racing and then ended up parting out. So forks, nice and short, and the CB350 allowed me to move away from the drum brake in the front and use a disc brake, which was still period correct, and worked with a machinist friend just to drill the disc, honestly, just because it looked kind of cool. I'm not sure how much it helps it, but I dug the look of it. The caliper is basically new. I found a new body from David Silver in the UK, rebuilt everything, new piston inside it. All that stuff was really, really fun, like evening nerdy work, you know. Grab a beer, tell my wife I'd be in the garage for an hour, and I'd be sitting there polishing parts of the inside of a caliper, and it all seemed like a waste at the time, but it's come together pretty nicely. I took a stock CB360 front fender and literally just drew the shape that I wanted on it in a Sharpie and started attacking it with a grinding wheel. One of the neat things I kept from an SL350 was they have a smaller headlight than the CB350 and the CL350. On those bikes, the road bikes are a bit more ungainly, they're kind of big. The SL had a little one because it was just an off-road. And I was really, really happy with that because it tucks in nice and tight and is a pretty small silhouette. Like it doesn't become a big design feature of the bike, it just disappears in there. My stock wheels were okay, but they're steel and they really weighed a lot. So in the 80s, all of the wheels went to aluminum for the first time. So I managed to find I think it was from a Kawasaki or a Yamaha motocross bike that was in okay shape. You know, it was a $25 eBay find, and I sandblasted it all, hand polished it again, and then the coating on the wheel, similar to many other parts in the bike, is something called Cerakote that they use in the firearm industry. And I had some experience with it, and I try not to always just kind of follow the norms of everybody else, and I decided I would do a lot of parts of the bike in this Cerakote because it holds up, it's extremely strong, and it holds up to temperature, oil, grease, gas, all that kind of stuff. So just a little bit of a different look. There's a lot of Cerakote goes on to a sandblasted finish, so there's a lot of satin parts to this bike. They are the stock gauges, but polished and new faces, and I haven't actually quite finished this part yet, but I've mounted them lower than they were before. I need to clean up my mounting mechanism, but I didn't like anything sitting up above the handlebars, so these are dropped down a little bit. Kept it pretty simple on the switches. It was a cheap eBay find that wired up great and seems to work. We just do headlight, blinkers and horn. There's no on switch. Nothing too fancy done in the engine. It was more basically just getting it to be good. Boyko Racing did the boring and the lapping of the valves and stuff like that for me. All the rebuild was done on a plastic table outside the garage with friends and beer. We took a CL350 high pipe and then cut it and turned it basically from a 2 into 1. The Cone Engineering muffler is awesome. Great, short but sleek, and it does a good job of making a great sound. Did the full kind of ultrasonic cleaning of the carburetors. Parts of them are sandblasted, Cerakoted as well. Obviously the velocity stacks, just to give it a little bit of, I don't know, I think they look fantastic, so I wanted to use them. And a good friend of mine who owns just a wicked motorcycle shop called TJ's Brutal Customs. He kind of type of guy that looks like he would probably kill you. He's, you know, tatted, bearded, plays in a metal band, but has become a really, really good friend, and he's a total soft teddy bear who just loves to work on motorcycles. He'll probably kill me for saying that about him, but TJ's was a fantastic help doing this. It wasn't, didn't really hand it off them and say, you know, hey, do it. We really got to collaborate together and have some mischief, just sort of working on problems. So we got these carburetors all dialed in, and hey, they seep a little bit of fuel every now and then and stuff, but it's cool to be able to use the stock ones and still make them look pretty neat with the paint job and the different colors to them. I'm 6'3". There was no chance in hell that I was going to be able to ride a bike that didn't have rear sets. So these are from a guy who I think he was a CNC machinist, and he started up his own little company called Old School Speed, and they're now making a number of different parts for cafe racers and Hondas, and it was a great kit. Just came with instructions and you know, fiddled around to dial in all the fit of it. But the only challenge I had was that a SL350, the off-road bike, had no passenger pegs, and these mount to the passenger pegs. But it was a pretty easy fix. So basically, the bolt holes lined up pretty well with the CB350 passenger peg mount. So again, you know, back to eBay, another 2 weeks, had to get these passenger peg mounts, and had to go back to the powder coater, say, I'm really sorry, I forgot some parts, and get them powder coated again. But these mounted up great and have worked out fantastically for me. The side covers, again, nothing fancy. Like I mentioned, I tried to keep this not a very high dollar build. This was just done basically in my garage and at work. I took some sheet stock aluminum, put a gentle curve to it, drew up a pattern, and got the dimple dies, which are used a lot in automotive work, and just basically put these dimple vents details on it. At one point I was going to have, you know, properly fabricated side covers on it, but as soon as I laid these up, I put a satin-ish Cerakote clear coat on these. As soon as I put them on, I thought they actually kind of fit pretty well with the bike, and I kept them on there. I like them. The Hagons, great guys to work with. They asked sort of very carefully what I was going to use the bike for, and built a set of shocks especially for that. And just some fun little details. I definitely wanted blinkers, so we tucked in mounts for the blinkers underneath the seat, welded them on. That was TJ helping me again to do that. And the other detail that I kind of liked was just managing to tuck this cat eye tail light in under the seat. You know, it's one of the big questions. What are we doing with the license plate? What are we doing with the tail light? Because they're usually pretty ungainly on stock bikes. So it was fun to be able to like tuck this away and kind of hide it, and I like it. And I also like that the bike came with the black plate, so I've managed to retain that. You can see a little bit better here the ceramic coating that we've used for this engine. This is the Cerakote. It's a titanium color. This whole outside has just been, I took it to like one step from high polish, took it back one step, and put the ceramic clear coat on it to help out. One of the really neat details I think about the bike is that the Honda SL350 came stock with a steering damper. CB350s and CL350s did not. So I didn't know how to ride a bike, but all my friends told me I really would want a steering damper. So completely rebuilt this, and it's been great. You know, it's already had the mounts, it fitted up straight away again. You are more than welcome to laugh at my steering lock. It is not the prettiest thing in the world, but it functions perfectly well. And I will probably need to clean that up and make it something better at some point in time, but it works great right now. So the paint, like it or not, the paint makes a bike. Details are important, the silhouette's important, but everybody's going to notice the paint. And I think there was a point in time where I thought about painting this myself. I've painted a lot of car parts and stuff before, but as I started to sketch out the plan for the paint, I found Matt Ross on Instagram, and his work had just won an award at Born Free last year. And he and I started talking, and he realized that I was not just kind of the guy that hands over the tank and is like, paint something. I'm a tad opinionated. So I had done a whole bunch of drawings. I laid out lines on the tank. We talked about colors forever. Candy red over gold. Matt did a great job and left the gold pinstripes showing through, and then we kind of worked with a sort of ivory off-white. And this was a lot of fun to do the Wee Beastie logo. My wife is very good on Illustrator, and she threw this together on Illustrator for me, and I cut it out of vinyl at work and made some stencils for Matt, which he painted. So again, I'm lucky at my work. We've got a lot of different tools and things that we can play with. So these kind of things are really, really fun to get to play with when you get these details. There's a couple interesting learnings when I finished this bike that I still laugh about, and most of my friends laugh about with them. Things will fall off. It's guaranteed. No matter how many times you think you've Loctited something, stuff falls off. And it's pretty entertaining and a little scary when it does. The second thing is, CB350s do not really fit guys that are 6'3". So I have had numerous times when I've had hip cramps, and it's purely from the fact that I'm crouched over something that's basically too small. I joke that if I ever get out of control on this bike, I could just put my legs down and let it run out from underneath me. So it's pretty small, but that's part of the fun of it as well.